All right, guys, we have been talking about it so much on this channel, pretty much visiting the 30A area, really exposing this area. I'm over here with Reagan right now. We're going to be going through showing you the hottest spots in 30A. So whether we're talking about Seaside, whether we're talking about Inlet, whether we're talking about Blue Mountain, which is where we're currently sitting right now in Blue Mountain. And make sure you stick around because at the end of this video, we're going to give you a tour of this bad boy right here. It's pretty much the characteristic you're going to see of a lot of the houses that are in 30A. So make sure you stick around. You're going to be able to see the inside of this house right here. We're going to give you the price point, the bedrooms, all the stats that you need to know. So make sure you stick around. But let's go ahead and dive into the hottest spots in 30A. All right, so when we are talking about those hot spots, we decided to move this location inside, and we are going to be talking about Inlet Beach, Blue Mountain, and Seaside. Those are pretty much the three hot spots that we are seeing when we are helping out so many clients who are relocating to the area, the ones that they are choosing, all for different reasons though. And we're actually going to break into that towards the end of the video, why we're kind of seeing people who are relocating to these certain areas. But let's go ahead and break into a few of the stats on these areas. And I'm going to tell you, we're actually just going back and forth on these numbers. And they're a little convoluted because just kind of like we mentioned, these aren't actual cities, guys. These are like the areas of 30A. And so it's hard really digging into these numbers when we're talking about population, like the cost of living, all these different things, because majority of that is based off of the zip code. And so you have to dive in really deep. So everything that we're saying here, just take it with a grain of salt. Something that we can hone in on though is pretty much the destination of each of these cities. And we're going to be relying off of Destin. So if you are going from Destin, how long is it going to take you to get into each of these spots? And so Inlet Beach, which is the furthest east portion of 30A, you're looking at roughly about 45 minutes to get down to Inlet Beach from Destin. And what was it that we said that was from Panama City? Like 30 minutes? Or
maybe 10, 15.
10, 15? There you go. There. Yeah, so if you want to go over to Panama City Beach, it's a little bit closer. But like I said, since we are on the Emerald Coast, we're kind of exiting Panama City Beach. And we're basing it off of Destin.
And then let's talk about Seaside for a second. So if you're talking about Seaside, Seaside is like your middle point. So you're going halfway. You're halfway to Destin. You're halfway to Panama City. So you're like right there in between. So it's about, I'd say, depending on traffic, 20, 30 minutes to Destin and about the same to Panama City. So you're like right there, smack dab in the middle of everything.
Yeah, and Destin, since you are the expert on this area, the 30A area, so Seaside is pretty much like the middle of 30A,
pretty
correct?
Close,
yeah.
Pretty close. Yep, you're right there.
And then the furthest west area for the video today, not necessarily the furthest west portion of 30A, we're going to be talking about Blue Mountain, which is probably about 15 to 20 minutes, wouldn't you say, Reagan, from Destin? So all these areas, not too bad when we are talking about going over to Destin. The good thing too, though, is if you do not want to go over to Destin and experience the high tourism over there, heck, just go over for your amenities to Panama City or Panama City Beach. Take advantage of the grocery stores and everything over there. They're not too far away. And this is one of those numbers when we're talking about population where it was a little convoluted trying to figure out what the actual number was in this area because majority of it wanted to break it down into the zip code where we then got into the thousands. If you dive in a little bit deeper, like I said, take it with a grain of salt, it looks like it's more in the hundreds. So like the Seaside area, permanent residents, we're looking at like right around 285. And then if you go over into Inlet Beach, it's about 180. And then Blue Mountain's going to be largest coming in at 357. And you were kind of talking, Reagan, how Inlet or Blue Mountain, not Inlet Beach, is kind of more spread out, and that might be why there's more residents living permanently within Blue Mountain.
Yeah, it's a bigger, more spread out community.
Yep. The second topic that we wanted to cover on these hot spots within 30A are going to be the cost of living. And like I said, we always like to do our cost of living based off of the cost of living index, where 100 is your national average. If it's above it, then it's more expensive. And if it's below it, then it's cheaper than your national average. All of these, for the most part, are more expensive than your national average for one factor, and one factor mainly, that is going to be housing. Now, there are a few other categories when we're talking about groceries, transportation, where it varies, right? Because there's some instances where you're like, holy crap, I think that everything should be more expensive there, where that's really not the case. But if we're talking about groceries, again, it's hard breaking into each of these areas. In the area in whole, it's up 8.3% over your national average. So that's 108.3% compared to your national average, which would be 100. So groceries is going to be a little bit more expensive. This is actually something that I think it's not exclusive to the 30A area. From my experience, and you could back me up on this, or you could say I'm wrong about it. One of the two, it doesn't matter, is once you cross over from the mainland into these areas on this peninsula, on the Emerald Coast, it does seem like groceries are a little bit more expensive, something that we've experienced, whereas if we go back on the mainland, groceries seem to be a little bit cheaper. Wouldn't you say that's yes or no?
I mean, I have to agree with you.
Yep.
It just takes a little bit more, and you're in a higher, area of demand, and so yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you.
Another cost of living category that we like to talk about is going to be utilities. And utilities is actually one of those things that we have noticed is a little bit more expensive up in this Emerald Coast portion of the Panhandle, but it's going to be coming in about 2.5% higher than our national average when we're talking about each three of these areas. And I'm going to tell you, if we compare this to like maybe like Gulf Breeze, Navarre areas, I think those areas are a little bit more expensive with utilities as compared to these areas right here. And it's going to be the electricity. Electricity is the biggest reason why I see expenses are so much higher when we are talking about these utilities.
To weigh in on that a little bit, and not, and I don't want to put everything as in a whole.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're in Florida. It's obviously going to be a little more expensive to heat these places. And then whenever you're looking at homes in the Gulf Breeze, Navarre area, they're going to be your standard, like, 2,000-3,000 square feet. They're not going to be these very large homes. Whenever you get down on 30A, the homes are also much larger.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking at more square foot. You're also looking at the lot sizes being smaller, so you're building up instead of wide. And so that also, a lot of these places have more than one unit, and so you kind of get into those factors too. So you are going to see a little bit of an increase, but it's just because of the size of the house.
All right, so now that we're kind of diving into this, you said something that I want to ask you a question on.
Yep.
If we're talking about, you just mentioned there's multiple units sometimes in some of these houses, some of these properties. What would you say the percentage is? Just put a number on it. You don't have to be the expert on it.
Yeah.
On how many of them have 2 units as compared to like 1 unit.
I would say probably 90% of them.
90%. There you go.
It's a very high. So whenever you're talking about 2-3-story houses, not only for the flood elevation level, but then you're also getting into just, again, the lot size. You have to go up to be able to get the square footage that you want. And whenever you get 2-3 stories high, the downstairs is obviously not going to heat like the upstairs. So yeah, you're going to have multiple units for that.
Yep. And the last category when we are talking about that cost of living is going to be transportation. And this one is actually lower. When we are talking about each three of these areas, it's 6.3% below your national average. And so when we're talking about transportation, that's the cost to pretty much get your cars repaired. I think they incorporate automobile insurance into that. Public transit, which really isn't that big of a thing in the area right now. So that's not incorporated into that. But Reagan actually had a good take to this, because I was like, why is transportation so much cheaper in these areas as compared to a lot of the other portions of Emerald Coast where it seems like it's more expensive? Why don't you fill us in on that, Reagan?
Yeah. So, like we've talked about in other videos before, this area is really set up for convenience. It's really set up for walking, biking, golf carting. Like, those are the main things that you're going to see in those areas. So to get from one side to the other, you're not necessarily going to have vehicles. And then, like we've touched on in other videos as well, a lot of these people are working from home and they're doing those kind of things. So there's not as much transportation. You're seeing, hey, I'm going to ride my bike to the grocery store. I'm going to golf cart to the grocery store. I'm going to do those kind of things. So I think you're seeing transportation being less due to those things.
One thing I can't see on this, guys, is like we have a golf cart and we go everywhere on our golf cart. I know Reagan and her family, they like going over on their golf cart. That golf cart is a huge thing. And we actually have some of you, when you are calling in, you're like, get me in that golf cart community. I want to be able to go to the grocery store, to the hardware store, to everywhere on a golf cart. It's awesome. It is the best life. It is the best life. And so I'm just going to say right now that if that's something you do want, that golf cart lifestyle, I would highly recommend it. So that pretty much covers those topics when we are talking about your cost of living. We are going to break into those median sales prices here in a bit, and next we're going to be breaking into the schools, but make sure you stick around, guys, because towards the end of this, we are going to be doing a full house walkthrough of that Blue Mountain Beach property. That way you can kind of see what it looks like, some of these houses look like in the area, and we'll try and continue to do that in this 38 area, because we do get that question quite a bit where you're like, what do the houses look like in 38? And we want to make sure we expose those to you as much as possible. And again, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in this 38 area, like I said, we cover pretty much Pensacola going all the way down to 38. We are your top relocation experts, helping you out with all your relocation needs. Give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, make sure you educate yourself on the Emerald Coast by smashing that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up and notification bell. That way you're notified every single time we put out a brand new video. All right, we're going to break into the schools. When breaking the schools, it's hard to narrow this down because, again, this is all pretty much based off of the county. And when we're talking about the schools, you're going to be in the southern portion of Walton County, pretty much, and that comes in at A-, guys. And I think you were even saying how there's not too many schools in this 38 area in general. Yeah. So we could have pulled up all the schools for you guys, but like I said, I mean, if you want to dig in a little bit deeper, just go to niche.com. That's where you're going to see this A- grade. And then you can go on the map and kind of zoom around there a little bit and see what schools are in the area, what the grades are. I highly recommend it as a tool. I use it all the freaking time when I'm always doing these videos or just relaying the information to clients of ours who are deciding to purchase real estate here. So check that out if you want to dive in a little bit deeper on the schools. All right, so now that we covered all those other areas, what is the hottest spot? So we talked about 3 different spots. Of the 3 spots, what are the hottest spots? Reagan, you're on. Let's hear it.
Oh, man. You know, that's such a loaded question. That's such a hard one to dive into because you pick 30A, and each little, like we talked about in the other videos, each little community is its own little entity. But to answer your question, the main areas that I'm really seeing is Blue Mountain Beach is hot, Inlet Beach is hot, and Seaside is hot.
Yep.
And they're all hot for different reasons. So we're talking about Blue Mountain, you get into that area, like we were talking about earlier, it's a wider community. It's more affordable, so the entry prices is a little lower, and like you said, the convenience to Miramar Beach, to Destin,
Yep.
and not to mention like the breweries and just the fun, walkable, golf cartable lifestyle down there. And then when you're talking about Inlet Beach, we're going to the other end, you're close to Panama City. You're right on top of Rosemary and Alice Beach, and that's that like really high-end, beautiful architecture, beautiful real estate down there. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's still in that, you know, affordable category while you're buttoned right up to those really, really high-end expensive areas. And then as far as Seaside goes, I mean, I feel like you could ask anybody in, you know, the Midwest, the North, and they know what Seaside is. And I think that's where you hit those areas is they're just well known.
Yep.
That you see everybody with the Seaside sweatshirts and like
Yep.
that's trademarked, and then
Yep.
they know about the food trucks, and again you get to that walkable, golf cartable, that like we talked about, the Truman Show type feel, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
So it people are picking them for different reasons, but the cool thing is no matter where you're picking, you're able to access all of it.
And so then also another thing you had mentioned is the price points, right? And so it depends on what your price point is, what your price range is. And so like Blue Mountain's definitely going to be the cheapest. Median sales price over there is like right around $1 million, just a little bit over, but right around $1 million. And then if we're talking like more down Inlet Beach portion, then you're like 1.4 million is your median sales price. All these numbers are as of October of 2025. But then if we go over into Seaside's going to be $3.4 million. So even with all those, even though Seaside's double what Inlet Beach is, these are all going to be definitely like highly affluent areas where you're going to be spending about $1 million. Now, that's not to say you can't get something for cheaper, guys. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's probably going to be more Blue Mountain Beach that you're going to be finding something that's a little bit cheaper, just because Seaside does feel a little bit more exclusive, similar to like Rosemary Beach and Alice Beach. But I mean, this is one of those highly affluent, highly exclusive areas, and that's why these price points are so much more. Now that we got done talking about all the different criteria of these 3 and why we think that they are the hottest spots in 30A, let's go ahead and do this house tour of a house to kind of show you what these products might look like in 30A. But this one specifically is going to be located in Blue Mountain Beach.
So you've waited this long. We're here in Blue Mountain today, and I want to show you kind of what you can expect in Blue Mountain. To give you some quick specs on this home. This home is just under 2,800 square foot. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, beautifully done. You're spitting distance from the water, but let's go check it out. So here we are, we walk in. As you can tell, there is no living room, dining room, nothing. So you walk in, here's the garage, laundry room, and then you've got some bedrooms back this way. Bathroom. And then 1 bedroom. And then your next bedroom is right over here. Okay, now let's go to floor number 2. Now, as you can tell, the houses in this area, they're gonna build up, which is pretty common for this area, simply because the lot sizes in 30A are gonna be smaller. So everybody's gonna build up. And this floor plan is pretty common for the area, just simply because they want your views. So this is your 2nd floor. So here's your open concept kitchen, dining room, living room. And this here, right here, is why they build them like this. Because look at that view. All right, let's go check out your master. All right, so just made it to the 3rd floor, and this is why we put our masters on the 3rd floor in 30A. Open, airy, lots of natural sunlight, and check out this view. big walk-in closet, as well as this beautifully done bathroom. And what more do you need? And again, these Gulf front views, this beautiful layout is what you can expect for about 2.89 in along 38.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that house tour. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this gave you a little bit insight into the hottest areas within 38. If you are looking at purchasing real estate, we are your top relocation experts. We're talking Pensacola, going all the way down into 38. Give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right right there. We always answer, doesn't matter day or time. But if you're not quite ready to purchase, make sure you follow along by smashing that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, notification bell. That way you're notified every single time we put out a brand new video. Until next time, we love you. Bye. Of that Blue Mountain Beach, right?